It's Freaky Friday!
Oh my god, Noob, 1x is coming for me, please, you gotta help me, please, Noob, please, oh my god, he's coming!
Don't worry, Elliot, I've got you!
Follow me!
Hello everyone, my name is Dr. B, and today we'll be discussing about the problematic flaws that come alongside playing a survivalist. As per usual in Forsaken, you're stuck in a secluded claustrophobic map with a rampant psychopath out to kill you. However, you're not just gonna let Purgatory enjoy your torment without a fight. The characters you're provided with possess a vibrant array of tricks up their sleeve to avoid a deadly fate, and they all cooperate to maximize survivability. However, all sin is rooted in selfishness, and there are a few out there that can completely ignore the rest of their buddies to prioritize their safety. Starting off with Noob. Noob is one of the survivors granted when first playing Forsaken. Their entire playstyle is avoiding the killer at all costs. What makes Noob unique compared to the other survivalists is that not only do they have an ability to avoid a chase in the first place, but they can also extend the chase to absurd lengths. However, as for assisting teammates, there's really not much they can do.
That's not true! I can help out in many unique ways! I can give them medkits! Yeah!
Hey, newsflash kid, anybody can fucking do that. However, I won't fully dismiss your statement. There's many hypothetical scenarios where you can use your abilities in a unique way, but they either do more harm than good or provide no benefit at all. For example, you can step into John Doe's digital footprint and drink a Bloxy Cola to remove the slowness. You can also eat a ghost burger so John Doe can't see your location. The only problem, John Doe still receives the speed boost from the activation, so you're most likely going to screw over another teammate. The only way you could potentially gain value is when you're in a scenario where a small amount of survivors are heavily spread out, and John Doe is attempting to kill you. Don't forget that stepping in a corrupted puddle still damages you within both strategies. Another strategy is tanking Cool Kid's minions with Slate Skin. Compared to John Doe's scenario, this doesn't reveal your order and you receive no debuffs. The only problem with this is that Cool Kid's minions really aren't a threat to begin with unless you're being cornered or they surprise you out of nowhere. You can simply keep them close towards you and slowly run away until they disappear, saving an extra slate skin for another encounter. Any survivor can pull this off as well, assuming that you are being pursued by the killer. The only downside I can think of this is that if the killer finds you in the middle of pulling this off, it would be much more difficult to get away. In this case, slate skin gets the job done quicker and avoids this scenario. However, this is extremely niche and is probably not going to happen like ever, so. The last method a lot of people bring up is trying to tank hits for other players. But at that point, it would be better to use a sentinel rather than a survivalist. The point of a survivalist is to avoid taking damage at all costs and avoiding the killer for the entire round. And obviously the killer will most likely go for you next because you're right in front of them, completely ruining the point of Noob having constant distance from the killer. Besides these tricks, Noob provides no value to the team in any other form besides distracting the killer by getting them to chase them. The better variant to Noob would be Elliot. If you really are driven into the actions of avoiding a killer, Elliot's rush hour ability is sufficient enough, and with the value you hold, your team would most likely do their best to protect you rather than other survivors, like N7.
Okay, who says I don't provide for the team, huh? Do you have a bachelor's degree in cool GUI? For fun, oh my god, dude!
No, I don't. So let's dive deep into N7.
My name is Forsaken, I use my clone, own, it goes blown!
N7 is a survivor that you can purchase for 500 points in the shop. His playstyle is much more different, as he has a few leftover tools from his exploit program that he can utilize to confuse the killer while getting away with a quick escape. The only thing he can't escape is the horrible grief he got from losing his son. But besides that, N7 does provide some sort of value to the team. His main ability allows him to create a clone of himself. How you use this clone is very crucial, as this ability's impact is extremely dependent on the intellect of the killer. Much like playing mind games as guests trying to calculate when the killer will block, N7 has to figure out a smart way to trick the killer into thinking the clone is actually him. Most people would run behind a wall and then send off the clone, but there are many people who utilize N7's ability to a very creative extent. However, as to contributing to the team, N7 can use his clone to try to deter the killer away from other survivors. However, this strong ability also has another important factor to it, the status effect Undetectable. The reason why as to this is important is because in certain scenarios, the killer would try to scout out for a target to go after. Compared to Noob, having to rush to eat his ghost burger, N7 can immediately use his clone ability to gain the undetectable status. This instantly takes N7 off the menu and the killer will instead go for somebody else. On top of all that, even if the killer were to see you for a brief moment, disappearing in time would be a huge risk or reward scenario for the killer, as they have no idea what your next move is. Plus, you have the clone running around to distract them even more. The problem is, the status bonus is something only N7 can gain value from, and they can instead prioritize hiding from the killer rather than using their clone to help out. Obviously, if the player isn't entitled, they will still use their clone to help out, attempting to either tank hits or trick the killer into chasing the clone, which are the only useful strategies when it comes to using the ability. But the option to be absent from the field is not very restricting. The second ability is probably one of the most useless abilities in the entire game. It's very rarely used outside of last man standing, and depending on the map, it will probably have less of an impact. The ability in general is very situational, and you will rarely find a use for it in the middle of a round. Compared to Noob, N7 is a much better option if you want to focus on yourself while also having the option to support the team from a distance. However, both of these characters will always be better than the character more useless than Umbrella's shoes. 2-time.
Give me the hot dog! Give me the hot dog! Just give me the goddamn hot dog!
2-time is a cultist that absolutely deserves to be tortured, and we should all applaud the Spectre for choosing 2-time to eternally suffer. 2-time is probably the worst character in the game. You have absolutely nothing at your disposal except for a second life that could immediately be taken away when taking a wrong step. They're an excuse, a disgrace, and they're just there. Actual random dude at the barbecue. So many people defend this character with their life, but like I don't get it. They don't have anything. Like they literally have a second life, but like no ability. So like there's nothing to defend themselves with other than like running. And like if you're not good at that, then you're just gonna lose and you're just not gonna be able to do anything. It's all based on like movement, but that sucks. It just every other survivor provides so much more value compared to 2-time. If anyone watching has anything above a legacy milestone 1, you're on my hit list. And then probably the worst excuse I keep hearing every single time is that, oh, 2-time lets you focus on movement. No, you can do this with any character. Like, you can play this with Celesky, Guest, Noob, 007, like, even the other survivalists. If you learn to juke with them, they would get so much more value than 2-time, because 2-time's just based on juking, and if you're not good at that, you have nothing else, and you're just gonna die. But everyone else, they have some sort of speed boost, they have some sort of stun, they have some sort of thing they can set up that shoots the killer. Like, I don't know how to explain this. And the worst part about 2-time is that there's absolutely nothing you can do regarding teamwork. You can tank hits, but there's no point in doing so because it's a survivalist. You don't want to take damage in the first place. Back in much more early times, however, 2-time's second life wouldn't be depleted when it cut to last man standing. So as a result, so many 2-times would just sit in the back and wait for other survivors to die just to get their 300-pound butt up and go, it's showtime, and just juke the killer until they win. Thankfully, 2-time got converted to a sentinel and went from being the worst character in the game to the most no-skill character in the game. I promise you, some of these 2-time players before the rework, all of those hours invested, jobs, bro, jobs. Anyway, we're starting to derail. So what's the main solution here?
Oh, this new animation is so good.
It's so good, it's so good!
The solution is to simply rework survivalists or completely remove them from the game. They are very contradictory towards the base gameplay of survivors, and it would be more beneficial to have them either be rewarded and punished for their choice of playstyle, or convert them into a support class, or an entirely new class. One idea would be passives. For example, have an ability that has to be charged by being pursued by the killer. Alongside that, make it so that the survivor gets severely punished or gets a debuff for not interacting with the killer for a certain amount of time. Maybe make it so that survivalists are instead suppliers, offering items to the other survivors occasionally, while also having a small item to support themselves. An example would be converting Noob into a survivor that can offer Bloxy Colas, while also having the ability to give themselves a speed boost. And 7 could offer a random buff with his cool GUI to survivors in an AoE effect. Now, of course, these are just raw ideas that could completely transform the character into being a much more better support in a unique way, and there are probably more diverse ideas that would fit the playstyle. I would not mind simply converting them into supports, as Sentinels and supports alone are already a good composition. Sentinels help the supports, and supports help the Sentinels. Speaking about classes, I really hope that the game doesn't lean on the idea of like support/survivalists, as support classes, when paired up, are very lethal and can really make the game miserable for the killer. Giving a support a very strong ability while also giving them ways to defend themselves seems extremely unfair, and I'm not sure if it would really fit the general playstyle. Another thing to note about survivalists is that some people say it's like, oh well, it's their job to do generators and just not interact with the killer at all. But the problem is, generators give malice, and there are a lot of people out there that actually want to play as the killer. So having a class that focuses on taking all of the malice seems like extremely unfair, especially if survivalists are focusing on keeping each other alive, but sentinels and supports are doing all the hard work, and then they all die, and then the survivalist just has to do the simple job of just running away from the killer for like a minute, and it just seems like extremely unfair in retrospect. As of now, Forsaken doesn't have that much variety and is inconsistent in some ways of gameplay, but at the very least I do find it much more fun and engaging when all of the survivors are trying to do something around the killer rather than just simply making it a game of cat and mouse. So I really believe that like if survivalists were reworked in a way so that they were forced to interact with the killer in some sort of way, it would keep the game engaging in some sort while also making it so that survivors have to actually interact and do something instead of just sitting around and just letting everyone else do the hard work while they reap all of the benefits. And then I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that are trying to defend survivalists as being a good class, but the problem is the way killers play, usually they'll go for supports and then sentinels, and then once they're about to finish cleanup, they go for the survivalists since there's no one to defend them. And it kind of breaks the cycle, because if you were to make it so that like every survivor has to interact with the killer is able to actually interact with any survivor as they please instead of focusing on a system where they target the weaker ones and then go up to the stronger ones and then go out for the niche ones that make the last man standing really bad. That way it keeps it consistent with gameplay. Like you don't have to say, okay, I have to prioritize this target because this target is going to make me lose the game and stuff like that. And then even within the community post I did before I made this video, some people say that like, oh yeah, well survivalist is still a good class in general because you can do this and this and this for a team. But like then again, like there's always going to be some sort of downside, or it just doesn't fit with the actual playstyle of the character, where it's like, oh, if you tank for the survivor, it kills the purpose of playing the survivalist. You're not supposed to tank damage, just play sentinel. Or it's like, oh, I take the generators. Okay, but that interferes with like malice as a system, and then it makes everyone else mad because they're doing all the hard work and they don't get enough rewards. And then eventually it kind of falls down into the general aspect of Forsaken and how they treat the gameplay, because it's more rewarding to get more wins rather than actually doing ability interactions and connections. Malice is still all just generator rather than any other source of way to get malice. Forsaken is still kind of heavily flawed with the gameplay loop, and I know it's still a very, very big roadmap, so it's obviously we have to wait until they kind of figure it out how to make it more, give it more variety in some sort. But yeah, just let me know in the comments. I really want to discuss. I want to know your perspective, your opinions. Like, do you think it's the core gameplay that's affecting this, or like survivalist as a class, or if it's like another big thing? Just let me know. I'll try my best to reply if it's a good statement, and then I'll give my opinion as well. Hopefully together we can improve the gameplay and the variety Forsaken has to offer, and eventually we can build it to a much more fun game. I hope to see y'all in the next video. Look out for future animations, and peace out. Enjoy some bloopers, by the way. We had a lot. It was so stupid.
Don't hear the kind voices, hear the evil voices.
I'm
Where's
innocent.
Fun Ice Guy?
I got rid of him.
Yo, my God.
Kool-Aid, you just love
Showing love and care to all the friends around you. You are truly such a good friend.
I was interrupting the set. Right?
you love. I was out of. We already got.
Are you?
What was that POV, bro? What was that POV? Can't pick it up. Yo, it's the medkit that makes me crash out, bro. It's the medkit that makes me crash out. It's the medkit that makes me crash out.
Revive them.
Yo, something chase me like it's a cartoon. Chase me like it's a cartoon, bro.
Wait, what? Wait, what's going on?
Look at this, bro. What if we ruin this by shooting him? What is that little dance, bro?
I'm doing it with the tippy toes.
It'd be kind of fun if you killed Vega.
Me? Which one is Vega?
The Teton.
No. No.
Find me.
Water cake. Can you like?
No. Shoot.
Okay,
It looks like
Wrong.
okay, you need to take a